guys, welcome to another edition of the vlog. I am so sorry that it's taken this video so long to get up. I know I tweeted that it was going to be getting up and then, so have you ever had a day where things just went longer than it should? So I went to get my hair done and that took a lot longer than I thought it was going to because originally I was just going to get my roots touched up and then, yeah, it took a lot longer. And then I got back and stuff happened here at the house and I just wasn't able to film and get it edited. I just zero time. So working today. And so now I'm going to tell you the story of my morning before we talk about this episode. My plan was that I was going to take my kids to school. I was going to get ready and I was going to film. And then something happened. They're trimming trees on the street. Like they've got cherry pickers with guys with chainsaws and trimmers up and down my street all day. And then gardeners all day. Legitimately, I'm waiting for my neighbor to start tuning his dirt bike because that's like the only other noisy thing I can think of that people haven't done yet. So the finale, Agent Carter continues to be an amazing show that it takes, in that they take the criticism from the first season and they work on that for the second season. I hope we get a third season. It's a wonderful show, nuanced characters, well-rounded villains. Even like the cartoony villains get like some sort of a facet that makes them more than a one-dimensional person. And I really appreciate that. And there aren't very many shows like that. So let's talk about the end. Okay, so Peggy and Sousa kissed. I want to point out one wonderful thing. So having watched a lot of movies from the 30s through the 60s growing up and a lot of the big musicals and things like that, I noticed something. During the scene right before the kiss, there's this shot of Sousa. And it's warm, it's soft, the way it's lit, he looks glowing. It is exactly the way that Hollywood used to shoot the heroines in that moment right before the guy decided to kiss her. It was that shot. That's what they did for Sousa. So literally, even though I didn't ship them, I saw that and I actually said, oh my God, you guys need to kiss. And then they kissed. And they kissed. And they kissed. We got to see Howard again. I know I'm dancing around the other part of the end, but there's a reason for that. We got to see Howard again. Howard is always welcome. I feel like we got to see him a little bit more this season. I'm not sure. Maybe a little bit. Anyways, it's nice. It's always nice to see Howard. And it was very refreshing to have a show with a group that's called the Scientific Strategic Reserves. Or is it Strategic Scientific Reserves? It's one of the S's. It's very nice to get to see so much science in it and so much more realistic science in the fact that you're talking about scientists who are well informed about their community, who argue who gets naming rights, whose name is going to be on the device because, of course, now that they've invented it, you put in the patent and things like that. And so you put the name on it so that you can get credit for it. You know, that they like that. I liked that and that people are well aware of each other's works. I found that very refreshing. I like that in the end result of this, that Wilkes is going to work in the new Malibu development for Stark Industries, which of course is it's a very clear reference that this is the property that's going to become Tony's house later on, which explains why in the way the house was built, there was actually a basement big enough for like actually working on stuff. I'm sure before Tony was actually using it as a garage, it actually was a scientific facility. So I like that. Okay, so we closed the rift. I do like that zero matter, they explained it in terms that all of us understand because it's exactly like every alien race that we've ever talked about from anything. I mean, think about like the aliens from Independence Day, the aliens from Signs. Their whole idea was that they colonize a planet, they use up all the resources, and then they move on. And zero matter is the exact same way. I'm sure that just whatever happened with that particular atomic thing, it happened to create a rift, and it was waiting there, waiting to come through. So it sent out a couple bit of scouts, and then that's what we've got. So I appreciated that. So I really appreciate the writing. I think I mentioned a little bit about how everybody's so well-rounded. Like, obviously, Whitney, even though she's a villain, we completely understand where she's coming from because pretty much every woman out there has been told something similar. And not just being named Whitney, but being an intelligent woman who at one point in time was going into a science field, I certainly felt all of that pushback. And I chose a different path. I'm very happy with what path I took. But, I mean, I understand that. And I think a lot of women can identify with the misogyny that both and Rose, Rose, and Whitney have faced. So it's very understandable. Wilkes talking candidly about the barrier that racism is presented and the fact that the villains took advantage of that in order to recruit him because they knew no one else was going to look at him. And in the end, he gets rewarded because Howard, he doesn't care about gender or race. He just cares about talent. So, it's the one redeeming quality about Howard Stark. And then the other issue they tackled was infertility. I'm going to say that as far as Marvel Cinematic stuff, they did this better than Ultron. I'm not sure how much better. Obviously, I have not struggled with infertility. I am totally honest. I was very fortunate that I did not have any problems having my children at all. In Age of Ultron, they had a whole storyline where Black Widow revealed that she can't have any children, which, by the way, makes it convenient for her to get with Hulk because obviously, he doesn't know what the Hulk has done to his junk. So I can't believe I just said that. So anyways, so of course Natasha's like, well, it's okay because I was sterilized and it makes me a monster. I'm paraphrasing, but it's really not that far off because what had happened was the Black Widow program, they sterilized them because, as she did put it so coolly, it makes it simpler, more efficient. You don't have to worry about your operatives suddenly getting pregnant or wanting to have children or things like that when you take that away from their future. But people had a problem with the fact that she referred to herself as a monster. And the way it was written, it wasn't that they made it abundantly clear that Natasha fought it. I don't think they necessarily needed the line about her being a monster because it was already abundantly clear that she didn't want it, and they took that from her. So having that line thrown in, it hurt a lot of women who struggle with infertility because that's the way society treats you. Society expects women to settle down and just pop out kids. And whether or not you decide not to have children, or whether or not you cannot have children, there's still this assumption that what you're going to do once you get married is pop out a kid and you're going to do it immediately. What I think Agent Carter did right was that we had Anna come to the conclusion that as long as she had Jarvis, she was happy. The only thing I didn't think they did right was that, there was that moment when they showed Jarvis sitting down to talk to Anna about it. We should have had that scene instead of him explaining it in the next episode in like 30 seconds. Because I think it was important for us to see her decide that, as opposed to hearing it from him and then hearing it from her after the fact once she's had some time to come to terms with it. I think that maybe if we had had a little bit more of that emotional arc, it might be a little bit better. But it's definitely so much better than Ultron. I just think that could have been handled a little bit better. But I can understand from the point of the storyline, there really wasn't a ton of time to dwell on it simply because we were trying to save the world. But that is kind of what I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. Another thing I would actually like to see is, and this was just because it was LA, there were some Asian people, there were some Black people, but there were only 2 Hispanic people. In La Ciudad de Los Angeles, there were only 2 Hispanic people. We had Vega, and then we had Hugh from Roxxon, his secretary. That's it. Out of everyone in LA, 2 Hispanic people. Okay, so now we're going to talk Thompson. Okay, so Thompson got shot. The showrunners said yesterday, see, you're benefiting from me discussing this with other people, that he's not dead. If you're paying attention, he was shot on the right-hand side. Your heart is here. Obviously, that would have been a kill shot. This was just enough to knock him out. I'm guessing lungs. And and then he was bleeding out a lot. And they took the file. So now this file, even though we know it was fake, it had to be based on an actual event that happened, some twist of accounts. So clearly it's talking about something that happened. And if anyone's going to be looking into this particular file, there's something else in there that they're going to find it's implicating whoever this is. So who do we think the assassin is? So one, it could be the council. It could be Hydra. Because the council still exists. I mean, there's still people on the council. They're just going to reform with new people now that Whitney's gone. They're just. I make it sound like it's so easy. They're like, hey, let's bring in another 9 influential dudes. Let's fix this. So there's Hydra. And we know that they're slowly trying to build up and out. But there's also old Hydra. Because, here's the thing. When you defeat an enemy, you have splinters, right? And as you can see, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, what they were fighting in Ultron in the beginning with the Baron and everything, he was a surviving faction of Hydra. But he wasn't the main Hydra. They had defeated it. So you get these little factions that pop up. So I'm going to go with someone that's from the faction of Hydra. And I have someone that I want it to be. See, I love the fact that they're taking Peggy's villains from all of Cap's, World War II Rogues Gallery, which is where, Madame Mask came from, even Manfredi. Zemo. I want it to be Zemo. I mean, who else would wear purple and be, super stylish? I mean, I think a cravat's an excellent replacement for a purple face mask and a big fur stole, right? Wouldn't it be awesome if Zemo popped back up? It would just be so awesome. Anyways, that's what I hope. I don't know where the next season's going to go. I don't know how much further it's going to jump ahead. I would hope that we jump ahead a bit. I want to know what the key opens up. And I want Dottie to come back. I love Dottie. Dottie's amazing. I liked that they saved the world. They didn't just save New York this time. Peggy saved the actual world. I think that in season 3, the only thing she can follow this up is by founding S.H.I.E.L.D. Oh, and one really funny note, I'm just going to say. They filmed on the Universal backlot, and Howard had a hover car. Do the math. Okay, if you didn't know, that's where a lot of Back to the Future stuff was filmed. So, that just made me smile. Especially all the future stuff. That was all backlot. So, I don't know. Obviously, we're going to have to wait to find out if it gets renewed. If you can, tell every single person you know to buy it. Sorry about the color. I'm not even caring anymore. But, just try to get people to watch it and love it and fall in love with it too. You guys, I had a wonderful time this season. This has been so hard with all of these day after videos and everything, but I think it was totally worth it. It was so much fun. And I appreciate all of the wonderful comments I've gotten so far. There aren't a ton of you following my vlog, but for those of you that do, I really appreciate it. I'm going to be going to more real life, maybe a few more makeup tutorials. I was thinking about tackling some of the differences in the makeups that the female characters have worn in this last season, because all of them have their very own distinctive looks. I think that's it. Well, you guys, I hope you have a great week. I hope you have a great month. For those of you who watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm not doing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. videos, but it starts back up next week, so watch. Because that is another show that is super diverse, an amazing cast, great writers, and yeah, so all right, talk to you later.